Okay, so a few things looking at the drawings. One of them is on the first floor plan. One thing that you should do, let's just start, is hide the crop region. So that's this box that you see going all the way around the drawing. Like this, you want to hide that. You want to hide those trees too that are shown. So if you right click on those elements in Revit, you'll see a button that says hide elements in view. Let me open up an example so that you can see. Okay, so this is an example building that doesn't look at all like yours, but just so you can see what I'm talking about. The crop region is down here, so if it's on, you'll see it. It looks like a box like this. What you want to do is in all your views to hide that crop region, you can even bring it a little bit closer to your drawing so that it blocks out these elevation markers, which you also don't want on your sheets. So you can crop that right close to the building and then just turn it off, which hides it. And now your view is ready to be put onto your sheet. If you've already added it to a sheet, you can go back to the sheet and, here, let me add it so you can see it. You could go back into the sheet itself and you could activate the view, and you can turn the crop region on and off inside of that view, and then right click and say deactivate view. Okay, the other thing that you're going to want to do is hide your trees. So I'm just going to show you how to hide an object. Say I wanted to hide this pulpit in this building. I could click on it, right click, and say hide in view element, and then it hides that from view. So you'll want to do that with your trees that are in your view. Okay, so some other things that are on the rubric that I can't actually grade on your drawing are the wall types. So you need to change your detail level to fine so I can see what your wall is constructed of, because right now it looks very generic. So I'll show you in Revit again. So right now my detail level is set to fine down here, and you can see like that I have, oops, actually this wall is reversed. I have some sort of CMU or something on the outside here, and then I can see the different layers of the wall. Yours right now is set to coarse, so when it's on coarse, it just looks like a blank slate. So change that to fine and adjust that, and then I'll be able to see your wall types. The other thing that was on the rubric was to put wall tags on all of your walls. So to place a wall tag on a wall, you'll go to the Annotate tab and tag by category, and you can place a wall tag right on each of the walls. So this is on different wall types, so you'll see this building that I'm working with doesn't have a lot of different wall types, so I'm going to place it on each different one. And then it tells you in the rubric that the exterior wall is wall type A, so you'll put an A in there. Okay, and then anywhere that that wall type is present, it now updated my wall tags. And then it says the interior walls are wall type F. So in this one I would put F, and then anywhere it has that interior wall that's the same, it will change it to F. If you get an instance like this where it's overlapping something, you can pull that down a little bit. Okay, so add those tags. So go back to your drawing. So pretty much the first half of the rubric, I can't tell if the exterior walls or interior walls are correct. The elevator, I see that you added an elevator. It doesn't look like it has a door, but I know you guys had to load in a bit of a different elevator, so we're going to go with that one. For the stair, if we zoom in on your stairs, to try to look at those with more detail, your stairs aren't fitting the actual stairwell. They may not actually be going up the complete level. So your stairs should be starting back here, and then they should extend all the way back here and then back down. So they should take up this whole part of the stairwell. Also, make sure that you think about those guardrails that we talked about in the textbook. So I believe that was Chapter 6 reviews railings and stairs. So you want to make sure that you review that chapter because you have to add some details here, like the railings are supposed to extend a foot past in this location. So go back and look at, I think they call it lesson 6, not chapter 6. So that's one thing that you'll have to update here. You should also show a dimension because I can't tell how wide these stairs are just by looking at them in PDF, so you need to include the dimension that shows that they're 4 feet. The other thing, you have the door here, so that's good. The other part of the rubric is making sure that the doors are inserted as shown on the PDF, and it looks like you have most of the doors on the first level. On the second level, I do see a little bit of a problem here. This is the second floor plan. You need to hide all of these elements. So what could be happening is you may have an underlay turned on. It's possible over here in your properties box you want to look and scroll down to see if you have an underlay. So you just look for underlay and it will say it over here, base range, and just change that to none if that's the case. Otherwise, do what I showed you before and click on the element, right click and say hide in view. The other thing is your floor is going through your stairs right now, so you want to go back into your textbook and look at how to make the floor go around the stair shaft. So that's also going to be in lesson 6. You'll see that the floor, if I was to look at the floor outline, it should run something like this, where it goes around the whole perimeter of the building this way. Okay, this is something that looks a little bit like that. And then that way, this is open. Actually, it's hard to show you on that one because it's, let me see. Let me find another. Okay, so the law office has the second floor. It's a little easier to show you the boundary line. So you can see that it goes around the stairs. So in your sketch, I should just erase this part right here. There. Around the stairs, so it should look like that when you sketch your floor. And also the floor should not be going through the elevator shaft because you need to have an elevator that goes from the first floor to the second floor. So this should not have a floor inside of it. And again, you can just create a boundary line that cuts that out. Alright, so let's look at the next area here that we have on the rubric, and it talks about the windows. So for the windows, you've placed them on the first floor in these rooms. It looks okay. The only thing I would say is that there's windows in the vending machine rooms, and there's probably going to be vending machines along this back wall, so that would make it difficult to have windows there. But on the second floor, there's an office in this room here, and there's no windows, so you're probably going to want to put some windows up on this level. Otherwise, it looks like you have an even number of windows if you're happy with that. Okay, that should be fine. For the ceiling plan, this is the first floor ceiling plan. To make the gypsum board hatch show up, I referenced your law office building book inside of the instructions. So you're going to want to either to go back to lesson 6, which is in the Revit 2017 Architecture Certification Exam Study Guide, and look at ceilings, or you can go to the law office and check out section 6-4 ceiling systems, and they walk you through how to make that hatch show up. So if you look at the ceiling plan in our law office book right here, it has a gypsum board ceiling. You would hit edit, type, edit, and you have to select that layer. Well, right now it's a structure layer. It should be finish 2 of 5, and this should be gypsum board. And over here it has a surface pattern of none. You just change that surface pattern so that it is gypsum plaster. Let's see, where is it? And say OK, and then apply, and then that adds that hatch to those restrooms. Alright, so that's how you make the hatch pattern show up on your drawing. Again, you could reference your law office building for step-by-step instructions on that. To center the lights in the space, well, one thing I see is it looks like your lights are not snapped to the grid. So let's talk about that first. So to get the lights to snap to the grid, you can, okay, so to get them to snap to the grid, the trouble with Revit is it really doesn't have a good way to snap them. It just doesn't do it. It's kind of a bad feature. So I usually place them way offside of the grid so that I can then use the move tool, or I can use my align tool and I could just have that object aligned. But make sure that it is right to that grid. And then you can even lock it in place. Okay, so say like you wanted to center this in the room. You could click on the grid and then just use the arrows on your keyboard and you can tap them over to the right or the left to make this centered in the space. Now the one thing you don't want to do is leave those small slivers. Like we don't like these little slivers showing up here. But that's how you move and center things inside of the grid. But again, make sure that those ceiling lights are aligned with the grid lines. Let me see, what else do we have going on in here? Oh, in this space right here, you want to place an X in this space, and then you want to write in all caps open. Oh, sorry, it's really hard to, how about I type it here? We're going to write open. It doesn't seem to want to be doing it. Well, I'll just tell you because my tools aren't working quite right. But we're going to write open to above. So that X indicates that this is a double story space. Okay, so you put that in there and then you put text that says open to above. You are not going to have lights on the first floor of the stairs. Just think about that. There's no ceiling on the first floor. You would bump your head on the ceiling. And in the elevator, how is the elevator going to go through the shaft if there's a ceiling in it? It can't. So there is no ceiling in the elevator or the stair shafts on the first floor. On the second floor, however, there is a ceiling in the stair shaft, but again, it wouldn't make sense to have a ceiling in the elevator shaft because you're inside of the elevator the entire time. So there's no ceiling here, so you want to remove that from the space. Okay, so now let's just review conventions and labeling conventions here. So if we look over at your title block, you did a pretty good job. You've got, I did tell you to name the drawing A101. This is called first floor plan. It's 1/4 inch equals a foot. You've got that here. The only thing is that this tag should not say level 1. It should also be called first floor plan. Same here. This should not be called level 2, second floor plan. This should be first floor ceiling plan. This should be second floor ceiling plan. You have the north arrow on all your plans, which is correct. So you did pretty good on the sheets. Hopefully that other information will help you to make your corrections. If not, just feel free to email me.